You're listening to the Viral Volley podcast. Now here's your host, Rob, on the mic.
Hey, good day, everyone. I'm Rob Espero with College Volleyball Weekly, and we're doing another PAC-12 edition. And with me after this huge weekend of play, basically it's a battle for first place in Pac-12. We've got graduate outside hitter Mac May, and we have senior Libero Zoe Fleck. Thanks for joining me tonight, ladies.
Good to be here.
Well, this last weekend, two of the top 25 teams in the nation came into Poly Pavilion on Friday night. First, number 22, the Washington State Cougars, and on Sunday, the then number 8 Huskies of Washington, which ended up being a battle for first place in the Pac-12 between two teams with identical 16-3 overall records and 9-2 conference records. So with that, as you opened up this 2021 season, what were your perspectives of the Bruin team? And we'll start with Zoe on this one.
Well, we have a pretty similar team that we did last year. A few key changes, but obviously Miss Mac May returns, and she's the core of this team. You know, she's our leader. We get our energy from her. We get our stability from her. And we added a couple of freshmen. We added some transfers. And yeah, I mean, we're just on an uphill. You know, we looked at this roster and we were very excited from the get-go, I think.
Yep. How about you, Mac?
This year I didn't really expect much. I wasn't sure how the new players coming in were going to affect the team. And honestly, I think they've made a huge impact in that this team has really become something special. I mean, throwing it back to you, Zoe, like having her in the back row has helped us tremendously last year, but especially this year. I think adding Charity and Shelby and Francesca to the lineup has made incredible advantages to our side. And so, we've been finding our identity throughout the season, and I think we've kind of found out that we're a pretty tough team. And so it's starting to get exciting to see things kind of come into fruition with that.
Yeah. It did, coming out of COVID and that hyphenated spring 2020 season, have any influence on your team's performance so far this season? We'll start with you this time, Mac.
That was kind of a tough season. COVID overall was just a tough experience, but I think it has kind of made some impacts with just load and overall immediate, I think the season after season going right into another season is always tough without that time off. So I think it has affected a lot of teams and a lot of players, but I mean, I think I can speak for both Zoe and I. We were so excited to be going right back into volleyball season. And I mean, for our team, it seems like we haven't even skipped the beat. Like we have been going up, and it's really exciting to see and watch.
Yep. How about you, Zoe?
Yeah. Definitely going from continuing to play from the spring through the fall. And also we played last fall, like it was in season. We just practiced 6 days a week. So it's kind of like we've been just going for a full year without really much of a break. So, and I think the fatigue is kind of hitting all over the country. You know, lots of people are injured. Lots of people are having to take breaks. But I think having our veteran group has helped us tremendously. Having people who know what a season is like, who know what to expect when you get halfway through the Pac-12 and it's okay, now we have to play everyone else again. Still always an uphill battle. I think that has helped us out a lot because even though we have freshmen and we have new players that play for us, they have the stability, this veteran group of, cool, what's next? Next battle up. We don't get that break in the Pac-12. It's such a competitive conference. You can play a team that has barely won a few matches in the pack and they'll take a set or two off you. They might beat you. So what I like to always say is, so what, now what? You know, who cares if we beat Washington and Washington State? This weekend we got to go play Utah and Colorado, you know? So I think having a solid group of people who have been through this before has helped us a lot.
Yeah. Now let's go to the start of the 2021 season. Early this season, Bruins had an early loss to then number 25 USD, then a couple of 5-set losses in the last 2 weeks to then number 13 Washington, and then an unranked Arizona State. How have those losses shaped this team so far? And we'll start with you, Mac.
My dad always says, excuse me, my dad always says that you learn more from a loss than you do from a win. And so I think having key losses throughout the season are important because you do learn more about your team and about your weaknesses and kind of the chinks in your armor. And so I think it was important for us to have those losses to kind of find our identity, find how we fight, how we respond to adversity. And I think they've only been helpful. And so now in the season, we are able to, for example, when we played Washington State this last weekend, we were aware that the 5th set, we needed to be on our game because that's a whole nother battle within itself is a game to 15. And so I think now that we're aware of kind of where we could trip up, we are doubling down in caution and working extremely hard to make sure that we don't kind of repeat those errors. But yeah, I think those losses are very important. And I think they also showed that because they were both 5-set or all three of them were 5-set matches, that this team is willing to fight, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yep. Zoe, how about you?
Yeah, I completely agree with Mac. I think our ability to fight this year has been something that made our team really special. Like if we play those matches in the spring, we lose those in 3, And so even though we may not have been playing our best volleyball, I think the thing that separates the great teams is who can win ugly, and the ability to fight when you're not necessarily playing your best. And so I think we learned a lot about ourselves in those matches, skill-wise, knowing what we had to do to get better and overcome those maybe deficits in our game. But we also learned who we are as a team, and how we can fight together and rely on each other.
Well, a lot of people have been watching the UCLA Bruins, but I'll have to say between both of you, the highlight reels have been coming out. And mind you, this is from a Libero, and you expect it from an outside hitter, but Zoe, you've been showing up on some highlight reels, on AVB Network, on Jump Bros, all these like great social media feeds. And you're just a grinder on defense. And then Mac's like blasting away at blocks, over blocks, through blocks, or just putting divots on the floor. So it's been great entertainment for anyone who's been following this team. So, but a lot of eyes have been watching what's happening in the Pac-12 conference and the way this battle has been sorting itself out. But what was the team's mentality going into this weekend's battles against Washington State and Washington? And we'll start with you on this one, Zoe.
Well, I think what we were saying all week was that this isn't the battle for the Pac-12. Like that was kind of the hype on social media. Oh, this is the biggest match of the Pac-12. This is the make or break of the Pac-12 championship. But, it can be won or lost in any week. We still have 4 more weeks to go play in the Pac-12. And so any week can determine the championship, the Pac-12 championship. So I think we just went into it like we do any other week, prepare the best we can, figure out how we can be best as a team, and be the best teammates this week, and then come out with a win.
Yep. Anything to add, Mac?
I think Sealy did a really good job of making sure we didn't listen to the noise and the hype around the games. And I think we are all in consensus that it was just another day in the office. Like these games are really big encounters with really tough teams that we needed to take seriously. But honestly, you can't catch a break in the Pac-12. So like every game is a tough battle, but these games, especially with kind of the hype and the noise around them, we were really sure to just focus on ourselves, our side of the court, prepare, and just grind out the matches. And I think we did a really good job responding to kind of the task at hand.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the Washington State match, which is Friday night. Bruins had to feel pretty confident being 6-0 at home, but the Cougars came into Westwood fiery and motivated. Bruins came out on top in a seesaw battle, 3-2. But what were your thoughts on that match? And we'll start with you, Mac.
Okay, well, actually, I was standing in middle back in the middle of this match, looking at Magda Helarova and thinking, God, this is a tough team, both mentally and physically. This team will fight so hard, take any team to fight. Like I was a little nervous for a little bit, but I had a lot of faith in our team. But truly, that team can just work. They will work, and they were pulling out their big guns against us, definitely. So I think we kind of kept our composure really well, even though they were throwing everything at us. They took us to 5. They were right on our heels the whole time. And I think our entire side of the court, everyone was just calm, cool, collected, do your job, take it one point at a time. And I think we finished out the match. I was very proud of our performance that night and how we stayed collected throughout the whole thing.
Yep. Zoe, how about you? Thoughts on the match against Washington State?
Yeah, I completely agree with Mac. I mean, all credit to Washington State. That is an incredibly tough team to beat, much less twice. So, I mean, all credit to their coaching staff too. Like the energy of a team, the scrappiness of a team usually comes down to the energy of the coaching staff. And year in, year out, that team will beat you. You know, whether or not they're top of the pack, whether or not they're middle of the pack, whatever it is, they are out for your throats every time you play them. And so I think for us to come out on top twice in 5 sets against that team really goes to show how willing our team is to fight this year.
Yep. Well, I caught a certain stat line that really was so like amazing to see, but that 5th set, I mean, the only thing could be better is going extended 5th set and ending like 52-50 as the score. But you know, that 5th set performance, 12 of the 15 points off of Bruin kills, the Cougars were hot on your heels still, even though 12 kills offensively, you guys are on fire, but they were still hanging tight with you. What pushed your team over the top and kept them from really coming back in that 5th set? We'll start with you, Zoe.
I think in 5th sets, it usually comes down to serving and passing, who can manage to stay in system when you get tight. You know, everyone's going to get nervous, especially in 5th sets. So it's who can handle that stress better. And I think that as a team of veterans, I think we did a really, really solid job with that.
Yep. Mac, how about you? Take a shot at it.
Yeah, I mean, we came out to actually, I can't quite remember, but I remember halfway through that set, we were up and we were making plays when it mattered. We were turning yellow light situations into green light. And then from there, in volleyball terms, you have to run out the clock, and that just means to side out. And I think we just sided out and kept our cool. And I really think that's all that we needed to do and got the job done. So I was really proud to see our team work hard like that.
Well, Mac, you notched 24.5 points on a 22 kill performance, hitting 245 with 2 aces and a block assist, while tallying 16 digs. What's making you being able to get this done individually from a stat line perspective?
Well, honestly, I don't think anything in volleyball is individual. I think that was just an accumulation of everybody working really hard. I mean, like the kills are attributed to Zoe here in her great out of system setting that she worked so hard at, and Shelby working super hard as well to get us good balls on offense. And then for digging, I just think it was making sure that following the scouting report, getting up good blocks and reading behind it. And I think truthfully that was just an accumulation of the whole team working incredibly hard to be successful the other night.
Wow. And Zoe, over to you. I had to look at your stat line. Notched a double-double with 11 assists, a match-high 27 digs with 0 reception errors. I mean, this isn't a chump league or a chump conference, but I mean, this is something that you as a Libero are doing. What was happening that resulted in your performance on that Friday night against Washington State?
Well, I mean, it's really nice when I get to touch the ball a lot, but I mean, the most important thing is that the team gets the win, you know, and this season's been really interesting because in some matches, it feels like I don't get to touch the ball very much at all. And in the spring, teams maybe came out hitting balls at me and it's been a little different this year, and so that kind of had to force me to change my focus. It had me frustrated for the first couple weeks of conference, or first couple weeks of the season, but changed my focus from like getting big dig numbers to how can I help in serve receive? How can I get better in serve receive? And credit to our passing coach, Megan Pendergast, who is, I think, one of the best technical passing coaches in the country, and which is so rare to find. And she just really helps me dial in my serve receive so that I can affect the game in that way, even if I'm not necessarily touching balls on defense. And that way I can just make Mac's job easier, make Charity's job easier, and see how I can affect the game, even if I'm not necessarily touching the ball. So.
Well, let's jump over to Sunday's matchup, which, basically with your undefeated home record intact after the win over Washington State, how did you prepare for that match, being that you only had like a day turnaround against then number 8 Washington? And we'll start with you, Mac.
Coming up a 5-set match is always pretty difficult. I think having Celia as our coach and a very experienced coach, he knew that, and he made sure to set up a kind of like a little regeneration where we go and we stretch out, we make sure that we get our legs moving, kind of flush the lactic acid in the blood. And he was very aware that our bodies were going to be tired. And so we went and worked and did a lot of rehab work, which was, it helped me a ton. So I hope I can speak for the other guys that it helped them too, but I'm old, so I don't know. But it was very helpful.
Pushing 25 is pretty old.
Oh, it was helpful. And I think, we prepared for a long, tough match against Washington. And I think taking that extra precaution was important because everyone seemed ready to go on Sunday.
Yep. How about you, Zoe?
Yeah, I don't think we necessarily prepared for it any different than we would another weekend of the PAC. Like we said, we were all about, like that whole week, we were all about, this is just another day in the office. It's not for the championship. So we all came in Saturday and we were loose, but we were focused, ready to get some work done and ready for the match the next day. It was just another day,
Yep. If that's just another day at the office, my gosh, on Sunday, authoritative 3-0 sweep of Washington, holding them to a $118 hitting while you guys were scorching it at 330. And what was getting you guys those kind of touches and being so successful offensively? And we'll start with you, Zoe, on this one.
Some people might look at that match and think that was an incredible, dominant performance for us, but we've put up a few of those this season. That was just really a complete team performance. And I think it was really cool that match was on ESPN too, because if people weren't necessarily watching us play a ton, then that was like, hey, we're UCLA, and for people who don't necessarily know our team, I think we're like a team for volleyball purists. Like we have 3 6 rotation pins who all pass. We have 2 super athletic middles. We have a super experienced setter, 1 serving sub, and me. That's 8 players. And we roll out the balls on Fridays and Sundays, and we're like, here are 8 players. You can throw anyone at us and we'll see who wins, and I think we're a pretty fun team to watch. And I love being part of this team. So.
Yep. How about you, Mac? Anything to add?
Yeah, I think we had a really great team performance. I was very proud of how we performed and executed our game plan and just our side of the net. And I also think we got a little lucky with some of Washington's uncharacteristic errors. And so usually that team is a very powerful, consistent hitting team that just will blast high hands. And I think we were able to adapt to that and kind of turn around some big hard swings into successful hitting on our side, which is something we worked really hard at. And so I'm proud of how we executed and turned that into a on the competition stage.
Yep. Well, it was a great match nonetheless. It definitely highlighted just the strength of the UCLA offense and defense. Because Zoe, you again double digit digs, 10 digs and 2 assists. as far as like having three of some of the best pin hitters with Washington, what were your thoughts on your performance? Because it seemed you're getting some really good reads and the defense was blocking well as also. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that match, there weren't a ton of digs overall because our offense was so efficient. And because we had a really good scouting report too. So the digs that we did get, we were able to transition effectively and kind of stay in system or terminate out of system. And I think a big part of that was also because of our serving pressure. You know, Washington is typically a really tough serving team. And I think we matched that and maybe even won the serve and pass battle because our serving was so tough, which got them out of system, which made things a little bit easier on our defense, which kept us in system more of the night, you know? So I think we just had a really solid scouting report and executed it really well.
Wow. Hey, Mac, I got to say another dominating performance at the net because 18 kills, but 424 hitting. Seems that you're developing a knack to be a big time performer in the clutch here or against the big teams. But what has given you this confidence at this point in the season?
You know, I think it's always nice to know that my team trusts me to take big swings and big moments, but honestly, a lot of the stress has been taken off of me because we have so many incredible players on the court that can execute in big moments. And so knowing that anyone on the court is able to dominate really at any time takes a lot of the load off of me, which is awesome. And I've been so excited to be able to have this extra year and have Charity on the team because she's really shared that load. And I think anyone is comfortable setting any of our hitters, our pins, our middles at any moment. And so that's nice to know, especially when I'm struggling or if I don't feel so confident, I know that I can totally lean on my team.
Yeah. Well, this coming weekend, the Bruins head to Salt Lake City and Boulder for matches against number 18 Utah and a feisty Colorado team. What are your thoughts on the match, Zoe?
I mean, we're excited. You know, those are two really good teams and with some really good players. And I'm just excited to play. I get really excited to play every single weekend. I'm a total volleyball nerd. I spend like all my time watching volleyball, playing volleyball. Coaches have to like kick me out of the gym. So I'm really excited to go up and play at Utah and at Colorado. I don't think we played at Utah last year. So I'm getting to see gyms this year that I didn't get to play in in the spring. So man, I'm stoked.
Awesome. How about you, Mac?
Yeah, I'm right there with Zoe. I get excited for every weekend of games just because, especially because this is my last go around in the PAC. And so each gym that I visit, it's the last one and it gets me a little bit every time, but I get excited just honestly for the competition. I get excited to go to Utah and fight against Danny Drews, who's another incredible player. And I get really excited to go to Utah and see how our team does in the altitude and fight against their top players as well. So I'm always excited.
Yeah, and how the ball travels further, all that good stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this is the question of I think is always the toughest question because I know that players totally humble. They don't want to say things that ruffle anyone's feathers. But if the NCAA selection committee were to dole out NCAA tournament berths today, what Pac-12 teams, in your opinion, should be in and why? And you guys can bounce back and forth. So I'm trying to get a sense of who feels confident in dropping one right now. And I think I'm going to go with Zoe on this one. She's got a smile, so she's ready to go.
Well,
and you can say you guys.
I mean, yeah, we should definitely be in this selection. I mean, the Pac-12 is what I call a knife fight in a phone booth this year. You know, you're not going to get through it without getting stabbed once or twice. I mean, the winner of the PAC hasn't been seeded lower than 6 in the last 10 years. But I honestly think that we could have at least 2 or 3 teams seeded this year. The PAC is so strong, and I don't know that we've necessarily been getting the value that we deserve because it's such a fight. Like everyone's kind of beating up on everyone. But that's really because the conference is so strong. Like you saw ASU, I mean, since beating us, they're on like a 4 or 5 match win streak. They've beaten multiple ranked teams, and that team was in the bottom half of the Pac-12. And now they're like moving on up. Teams like, I mean, Washington State had a tough first couple matches of the season, and now we're in the top half of the pack. Like there's just such tough competition this year that we could have maybe 7-8 teams from the Pac-12 get in the tournament this year for sure.
Yep. How about you, Mac? Don't have to name them. I like that answer, by the way, Zoe. So, Mac, this is a tough one to follow.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm really happy that that's not my job to pick because the pack is tough. So I'm glad that that's not on me. But I would definitely think I believe in my team, in this team. I'm so happy at how we're doing so far. I hope that we continue working hard to earn a spot in the tournament. But I also believe that, gosh, after this last weekend, Washington State are two really tough teams. ASU's shown that they're a really tough team. Stanford's tough. The Oregon team has been doing a great job this season too. I mean, I think there could definitely be a good number representing the Pac in the tournament this year.
Yep. Well, we're just beyond the halfway point in the Pac-12. So listeners, viewers, be sure to support the Pac-12, UCLA women's volleyball, NCAA women's volleyball by interacting, liking, and or following their web and social media and their personals if they approve your follow request. But Mac May and Zoe Fleck of UCLA Volleyball, thank you for coming on to College Volleyball Weekly Pac-12 edition. Looking forward to see what pans out here in the Pac-12 because it's an exciting race. Because what Zoe said, 7 or 8 teams, I'm almost in agreement with that because seeing the results each week, there's always an upset. But the rest of the nation has been upset, 5-set upsets in all the conferences. So I am not admiring the job the NCAA selection committee is going to have after the automatic berths are in. So ladies, I cannot thank you for your time. I know it's very precious, and being student athletes, you actually got to do some school too. So thank you for coming on, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.